Welcome to the Guards Trophy here at Brands Hatch for the grand finale of the British Sportscar Championship. The weather appears clear and calm around the Kent circuit today, but the same certainly can't be said for the atmosphere on track. In the thunderous Group 7 class, Denny Hulme arrives with a commanding 9-point lead in the championship. But in the sports car class, the title fight is still wide open. Freddie Jenner holds a slender 5-point advantage heading into the finale, but he'll have to keep a close eye on Richard Attwood, determined to steal the championship at the last moment. And lurking just behind them is David Piper in his Ferrari. And the flag waves one final time on this British Sports Car Championship as the field charges towards Paddock Hill Bend. Already it's a drag race into the first corner. Skip Scott and John Surtees remain side by side as they plunge downhill, neither driver willing to give an inch in these opening moments. But this race is only just beginning, and with titles still hanging in the balance, the pressure around Brands Hatch is only going to build from here.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our British Sports Car Championship of 1966. This is the finale. As you may have noticed, we're driving something slightly different to what we have been so far in this championship. Because what better time is there to change the machinery you were driving in at the final race when the championship is on the line? So, for the British Sports Car Championship back in 1966, for the Brands Hatch Guards Trophy, Peter Sutcliffe did drive a Ford GT40 Roadster, which I believe was chassis 112, I think. So essentially it was just a Mark I Ford GT40 with the roof taken off. However, there isn't a mod for that currently. However, there is a mod for the Ford GT40 Mark II X1, which again is just a roadster version of the Mark II GT40, which is what we are currently in. So to make it fair, it has been BOP'd. However, this car does drive so differently to the Mark I. It's certainly on understeer a lot more, and the limit on when the car snaps with some oversteer is not as easy to catch. So it may seem like an unfair advantage, but I have reined it back in, and also this car is not as easy to drive as the usual 1009 chassis Mark I. But really, what I'd like to try and do is drive as many of the chassis numbers for the Ford GT40s as I can. So this ticks off another one, or technically I suppose ticks off two. It is the X1, but also the Mark I chassis. So that's why we're driving this, and it has the livery as much as I can do it to period correctness. Again, I think I said this before, but I shall create a Discord server and I'll put all the cars that I've used for each series, where you can find them, all the liveries, again where you can find them, and then I've also had to make some where you can then exclusively get them on the Discord. There'll be a link in the description. If I haven't put it, do remind me in the chat and I will put it in. And also, do forgive me, I've got a horrible nasal infection, so I sound even more nasally than I normally do on the microphone. But I'm sort of a cross between Chief Wiggum and Bugs Bunny at the moment, so please do excuse any sniffling, because I do try and edit it out. I've had it for the last couple of videos actually, so I do apologise. But enough of that. Here we are at the finale. essentially we put ourselves in a very good position because we effectively just need to finish ahead. I think even if we did finish second or third, depending where the other cars finish, we would still win, because if I remember correctly what points we're all on, I'm currently on 41 points in our Group 6 and 4 class. Richard Attwood is on 36 points, and David Piper is on 33 points. Now I did see that the cars behind were Jags, but for some reason they have fallen off for the last race. They were quite good at Crystal Palace, along with David Piper, because they were right behind me for most of the race. I think it was just traffic that got them. Then at Goodwood, they all sort of nowhere really. Say that I haven't done any BOP on our class because it's been fairly equal. It's just each car has their own weaknesses and strengths on each tracks. To the start of the season at always we, like I said, there's that classic Assetto Corsa oversteer. It just keeps going. Doesn't matter how much steering you put in, it just wants to continue going round. Yes, we look back at the results of this current series. We can see that at the start it was the GT40s at Snetterton that were lightning quick. It was a top 3 for all the GT40s. And then it came to Alton Park, which is a bit more of a technical circuit, not as many straights as Snetterton, and the Ferrari was on top with David Piper. And that's when one of the Jags came in and got a 3rd place, and we got another 2nd place at that race. And then after that, it's pretty much the Jags on top, whether it's been Richard Attwood or Norman Lewis. And then essentially swapping places with either myself or David Piper, where we finish either 3rd or 1st. So it's been a really balanced racing series in our class anyway. I've had to do quite a lot of balancing with the Group 7 class because the Lolas were dominant, and then I think I switched out the mod for the McLarens, which made them way more competitive. So then I've been slowly reining them in. Try and say that with a block nose. Reining them in over the last couple of races to the point where I think it's pretty equal now. So we'll see what the results say at least. But also, funnily enough, I mean, in that Group 7 class, Denny Hulme, he won the first couple of races, which he did in 1966 in real life. He was absolutely dominant in the first couple of races, and that was enough for him to win the championship. So currently, as it stands in the Group 7 class, he's still on 28 points. But the McLarens are slowly catching up. You've got Bruce McLaren himself on 22 points. You've got Chris Haven on 23 points, which are the closest, because they've won the last couple of races, along with Keith St John in his McLaren. So as long as Denny Hulme scores some points this race, he should definitely secure that. But as where we stand, we should currently win this championship, but it's not done till it's done. So Brands Hatch can throw anything at us, especially during the real race in 1966. It was scheduled for 2 races of 30 laps, but the second race was halted due to heavy rain, and then it restarted. I think then it was only 20 laps. They ignored the first amount of laps completed when it was raining. And I would have liked to have done rain, as one of the McLarens there is coming out. I don't know if that's a pit stop or for crash damage. But I say this, me BOPing this car, we'll get sidetracked slightly here, sort of puts it in a weird position, like it always happens with me in racing, which is that I'm sort of in no man's land. So I BOP'd it so much that really this car may have been destined for Can-Am, but I think it was just sort of too heavy and it didn't really work out. So it was only used for a couple of races. It was, say, it did win the Sebring 12 Hours, which is where we'll see this car next. Obviously not driven by us, that was driven by Ken Miles and Lloyd Ruby, I think. But yeah, I think this car was sort of a sort of taster for Ford's own Can-Am machine, but oh, we hit the grass. This grass is super slippy. Come on, let's go. No, there's the Jag. Come on. Please don't hit us. Just go around. Thank you. That's close. Right, that is not ideal. Tyre's still dirty. Alright, we've got some racing to do now. Well, this has made it exciting, hasn't it? So we've got 2 cars to hunt down. Now, once again, there are pit stops. So we'll be pitting on lap 15, just to split it down the middle. I suspect all these other cars will as well. Now, Norman Lewis is definitely going to be playing rear gunner here because Richard Attwood is our closest rival and he needs to score as many points as he can. And I don't know if us finishing 3rd is going to be enough for him to win the championship or not. But us not finishing is definitely going to be enough. So we need to play it nice and careful here. So I reckon we've got about 5 or 6 laps before we need to pit anyway, so maybe we'll try and undercut or an overcut depending on when these guys want to pit. But as I was saying, this is an interesting car because it kind of puts it back in the middle of being a endurance rated sports car and what mainly they were hoping for it to be as a Can-Am car. And certainly after the 1966 Season 12 hours, I don't think it really raced after that, if I'm remembering correctly. So who knows, we might be able to persuade Ford if we get enough good results and go, if it's not being used anymore, do you mind if we use it for Can-Am? Because we will be doing the Can-Am 1966 series. This is a Ford GT40 there off. That's either Liddell or Cousins. And we've got Ron Fry behind us, who's having a very good race in his light blue GT40. I think that was the one that Richard Attwood was driving at the start of the season and then switched to Jaguar. Yes, if we get enough wins at various series, we should have a little bit of persuasion in what we can drive. Because we haven't got a drive for the Can-Am series yet, but I have said that we are doing it. So we're now right at the back of the Jaguar here. It's not really a good place to pass around this side of Brands Hatch, even though the road is incredibly wide. So this is the only mod that I could find of a classic Brands Hatch on, is it Assetto World? Again, I put a link in the description. Now I've had to change a lot of the textures because it's an unfinished mod to say the least. However, to say, he's going into the pits. Okay, so we've all got a similar fuel strategy then. If you're coming in this early, unless you take a 3-stop, I'll be surprised. So yeah, so I've had to do quite a few texture changes for the road itself. Obviously all the signage to make it period correct, because this is the only circuit where it's got this corner as how to explain it, as curvy as it is. Normally it's a bit more of a left-hander with an apex, whereas back in the day it was just a sweeping left-hander. So yeah, so by no means this is not a finished mod as far as I can tell, but I can't tell whose it is or where it's come from. It's just appeared on assettoworld.com. But something's better than nothing, and I think I can look beyond it being incredibly wide. It might be a 2013 track that they've taken and then converted it. I'm not entirely sure. I know that some people are funny with conversions from other games, which I get. I totally agree. But I say I'm surprised there hasn't been a classic Brands Hatch, because they all take a really wide line that is so risky. But yeah, say this is quite a good start. So if I knew anything about 3D modelling or Blender, whatever the programs they use, I'd probably give it a go, but I barely have enough time to do these videos, let alone do any track mods. Right, we've got a good run on him. Much better exit. Down Hilton's drop, Hawthorne Hill, Hawthorne Bend, he's still on the inside. I'm going to let him have it. It's not worth risking it, although last race I was risking up some back markers on the last lap for no reason, so try and work that one out. We get a better run through Dingle Dell into Stirling's, but he's always going to cut me off there. We put the foot down, listen to that V8 roar. Down into Clearways. It looks like he's going to pit. He's slowing right up. There we go. Right, now we need to put some good laps here. See if we can do the overcut while they're wanting to do the undercut. Is it an overcut? Because I'm planning to pit on 15 anyway. I suppose it is. That's the only 906 in the series, which sort of just poodles around the back. I mean, it is a 2 litre, so compared to the might of this V8, I'm not sure how much capacity this V8 actually had from remembering, because there were some different variations of engines throughout the life of these GT40s. Coming up to the halfway point, and it's looking all right for us at the moment. We'll have a quick look at my favourite site for all my research. Is ratingsportscars.com. If you haven't been on it, it's just a treasure trove of information on old racing series from every decade you can imagine. It has been so helpful for me doing this series, but having a look, there's obviously they photocopied one of the programs for this race, and it's in the section of program of events and awards. So for us, to the entrant of the winning car is £300. And to the entrant in each class, excluding outright winner, first 100, second 50, third 25. So actually we would get £100 for winning, which I thought was quite interesting, because as much as this is sort of an easy career mode, season challenge, whatever you'd like to call it, sort of, as my first one, I just like to make it as simple to follow as possible. But certainly the ideas are coming for the next career modes, season challenges. Certainly looking to implement maybe a points table for driver level, as the fuel light comes on now, so definitely pitting this time round. But then I could also then look at, you know, cash prize at the end of each race, and then being able to buy, you know, better cars, I suppose. I don't know about upgrades, I think that'll make it too complicated, as we don't quite lose it, but that's not what we want on our in-lap. But yeah, this is sort of just a thought, really. I have other in the works. I'd certainly like to continue this one, so obviously it'll be a 1967 career mode. Whether we stick with Ford or we go somewhere else, that will be a choice I shall give to you at the end of this career mode, so that we later on in the year perhaps who we should then drive for next. But also there'll be other decades as well, because we can easily do the 60s into the 70s. Obviously then you've got Group C in the 80s, World Sports Cars, the 90s, obviously then the American Le Mans Series and the noughties, World Endurance Championship 2012, as well as what did I see? F1 did the extended highlights for the 2010 Australian Grand Prix, and then I was thinking about playing the F1 2010 because that was, well, I consider it Codemasters' first of their Formula 1 game. Obviously it wasn't. 2009 came out, but it came out on the Wii for whatever reason. So I'd like to do a career mode in the F1 game, just go through 2010 up until, I don't know actually, because I sort of stopped in 2020 because then I think EA bought it and whatever. But yes, they are all thoughts, but again, I shall at the time of this recording I have started to create a Discord, a Racing Past Discord. So if you have any thoughts or feelings, or you just want a general chat about racing, historic racing, current racing, mods, games, whatever it is, you're all more than welcome. I say there should be a link in the description of this video, as well as then the YouTube channel links itself, as well as Lotus 40s goes past us, and feels like we're night racing for a second. I need to sort out that mod, I suppose. That's not ideal. I don't know if I can crash into him if he's invisible or not, but hopefully he will just disappear. So we have cold tyres and brakes, so we'll take it nice and easy. But I presume that we have come out ahead. Who knows, maybe David Piper's going for a longer first stint. Looks like someone's coming out the pits now. See, David Piper is... oh, that's him. There he is. And again, he's driving now a Spider version of his 365. Which I think he was driving a bit earlier on, but I just... did I forget to change it? No, I think the new mod came out sort of halfway through me doing the series, before I realised that there were other 365s, 265s. But seeing as his tyres are cold, we should get a good gap on him. So it's all to play for still, really, with about a third of the way to go. I'm not sure where the Jags are. Whether they're ahead or behind David Piper, who's pulled a blinder on the strategy, if that is the case, because he was behind. But it's behind a lot of people, wasn't he? Because we had the two Jags and it was Ron Fry. So he must be well down our class field. then, so as we start the next lap, we are behind the Jags, I do believe. Yes, Richard Attwood is somehow 8.5 seconds ahead, as there's a couple of cars. I think that was Ron Fry in his Ford, who were doing so well, and one of the Porsches. But we have just gained 2.5 seconds on the previous lap because he was 10 seconds ahead. So 10 laps to go. That should be enough. But again, I'm not sure how our pit stops are so much slower than everyone else's. Maybe we just have such a bigger fuel tank because these cars are quite thirsty compared to... I mean, the Jags and the Fries are running V12s, aren't they? So we're only running a V8. I don't know if that's how that works, but... But we've got some catching up to do. But I think finishing second should be... It should be enough. I think there might be 2 points in it if this is the case. So we can just sit here. It was potentially second. Yeah, I've got the Ferrari there now as well. We've got cars everywhere now. This is sort of the point where the AI decided to give up. So we have two of our title rivals either end of us, sandwiched between us. Richard Attwood ahead, David Piper behind. Really, David Piper would need to win, and then we would need to finish sort of outside the points for him to be able to win this British Sportscar Championship. But as it stands, we would win by 2 points. Unless we are second and third, then we would win by 3 points. Unsure where the other Jag of Norman Lewis is. But yes, after this race we are back to the World Sports Car Championship. To the Sebring 12 hour. Oh, as he goes off, and we're gonna follow him going wide, but that was clumsy, but we're both off. So I'd say it's fair, right? We've got a bit of lap traffic ahead of us here. Hopefully we can clear this Ferrari before get them on the hill, and we certainly should. And that's one of the Brabhams ahead. Yeah, we need to find out where this other Jag is. Ideally we'd like to finish with another win. 2 wins on the trot, the third win of the season. Certainly it looked good for other racing teams looking at us. Because we have most of our drive sorted for the next couple of races. But ideally we'd like to be in the best position we can for the big ones. Which is obviously going to be a Le Mans. and see what we can do in the World Sportscar Championship. Norman Lewis is 19 seconds. How's he done that? That is... How has he done that? Unless he's short fuel, he's going to have to do another pit stop. I mean, we're still going to win the championship and finish in this position, but it'd be nice to win it in style, wouldn't it? 19 seconds. That's mad. That's as far as I would expect the other class to be, the Can-Am cars. So it's not worth the risk. That's stumped me, that has. I don't think we're going to make 19 seconds in... What, 5 laps? But anyway, as I was saying, next couple of races, and I went through a lot of it last time because I've changed quite a bit of the schedule from what I've been saying, just because plans go out the window all the time. And as much as I like to pretend to be organised, I am not. So, Sebring next for the World Sportscar Championship. Oh, he has pitted now. How's he 18 seconds back? He must have crashed. So I think we're now leading. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, Sebring next for the World Sportscar Championship. We will still be driving with David Piper, Peter Sutcliffe in 1009 to the dark green GT40 Mk I. And then we shall move on to some touring car racing in the form of Trans Am, as the Trans Am series started 60 years ago, got the very same weekend as the Sebring 12 hour. It was a 4-hour race for the Trans Am, so we'll be racing in a Mustang, which one I do not know yet, and also which way around to do it, whether I do... I mean, it'll be a double header regardless, so there'll be 2 Sebring races coming up next week. And then we'll have a short run of American races. So it'll be Sebring for Ford Sportscar, Sebring for Trans Am, and then Mid-America for Trans Am. And then we start a new series, which is the United States Road Racing Championship at Stardust in Las Vegas. And then we go to Riverside. And then we'll return back to Europe for the Italian double of Monza and the Targa Florio. And then back to the States for Laguna Seca for the United States Road Racing Championship, and then a double header in the Ardennes for Spa and Nürburgring. Back to Bridgehampton for the United States Road Racing Championship, and then we will round out the first half of the season with Le Mans and Hockenheim, finishing the World Sportscar Championship. So there's a lot coming up, and there's a lot still to go. And then after that, it's basically finishing off the American Racing Series and starting our Can-Am Series, and obviously not forgetting our Pacific Sports Car Championship with Longford, Suzuka, Fuji and Surfers Paradise still to come after our not so great race at Bathurst. I think that's all the racing series that I can find that involves a Ford GT40. Oh no, it's not, because you also got the Springbok series that I haven't included yet, so that'll probably be shoved on the end because that normally happened over the winter period. So that is another series to be added on to our current roster. Peter Sutcliffe did race in that, so I imagine it will be in our 1009 chassis GT40 Mk I. But that is to be announced. As Richard Attwood is still 8.4 seconds behind. So it's not over yet. Still need to play it safe and build just a little bit more of a gap, just in case something silly happens. You know, it's me, which means that something stupid's going to happen on one of the final laps of the race. We've got a bit of lap traffic up ahead, and I think this is our first blue flag for the leaders coming through, so we're not done so badly. Again, it looks like perhaps McLaren's going to win. Doesn't do anything stupid to us. Oh, it's gonna rear end us then, the mirror. Alright, 9.3 seconds ahead. We've got to get past the number 45. A little bit of a lock-up. Working cleanly through. Hopefully he'll block the McLarens for a while and we get a bit of free air before they decide to over aggressively overtake us. But there is a Lola in there, so I think the BOP has definitely improve the racing, or made it closer at least anyway, so it'll be interesting to see who wins this championship. It does look like Denny Hulme, as I said, but with McLaren's up front, they could spring a surprise. But again, a lot of these cars will be racing in the Can-Am series, so along with the drivers, you know, Bruce McLaren, Chris Amon and the likes, so we know what they're capable of. Again, it just depends what car we decide to choose on racing with, or say what we decide on what we think, what teams will think we'll decide on, something like that. I don't think it made any sense at all. Oh no, goodness, no, please no, stop. Oh. Why? Why do I always do this? Well, at least all the leaders are through now. Definitely got some damage. That could be so much worse. Why can't I just do a race? You know? Yeah, steering's bent. Quite bent, actually. That's, yeah. So now they've overtaken us. We have to do one less lap, which is ideal. I think the jack behind us of our title rival was about 10 seconds. So we'll see. See where we end up. We should be able to fight them off. Because it should be in the final lap coming up. There we go. This is our final lap. Oh, something's happened there because Alan Rees is now behind us. 82 seconds behind. What's gone on there then? He's in the 250 LM, I think. This is just a timing and scoring issue, but we'll let these loaders go past on the straight. We don't want to get any more damage than what we already have. Let's clip the grass there. Come on guys, off you go. There goes one, there goes the other. Because the sun is just starting to get a little bit lower as we round the final few corners here of Brands Hatch for this Guards Trophy. But this should secure our maiden championship victory here in the British Sportscar Championship. There we have it, we've done it. We have won our first championship, our home championship I suppose, with Peter Sutcliffe. It is Ford GT40, various Ford GT40s. That is a great result for us after what has been a very competitive championship. I'm very pleased with that. Right, let's see what the rest of the results say. So for the final time in this British Sportscar Championship, here are the results for Group 7. And Skip Scott came out on top in the last race with Graham Hill in second, David Hobbs in third, Denny Hulme did everything he needed to do in fourth, and Tony Sargent rounding up the top 5 for another Lola lockout. And for our class, once again we get our third win of the season. Richard Attwood did everything he could with his teammate in third, David Piper in fourth, and Nick Cousins rounding out the top 5. You could say the usual suspects. And for the final results, Denny Hulme remains on top with 32 points, and Skip Scott closing that gap on 29 points. And where we finished on 51 points, Richard Attwood on 43 and David Piper on 37. So it was a comfortable points margin by the end, but a very interesting championship. So very happy with that result. And here we are on to our next load of races. So we are in America for the next couple, Sebring for the World Sportscar Championship and Trans Am, and then we start our United States Road Racing Championship. We head back to Europe for the World Sportscar Championship in Monza and Spa. We head back over to the States for Laguna Seca. A couple more European races, some races that I've yet to decide whether to do or not, depending on how much time I have. But there we have it for our first championship. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you join us for the next one. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.